Library of Heaven's Path. Chapter 53, Bai Sun's Breakdown. This. The crowd stared at one another, dumbfounded. This is Master Lu Qian, the Emperor's tutor. Who dares to lay his hands on him, beating him into such a state? Besides, didn't you two go to the study? Why did he return, like this? Could it be that they didn't go to the study to read books, but to fight? The elegant Master Lu Qian has such interest? I'm fine. Master Lu Qian waved his hands awkwardly. After all, he couldn't possibly say that. Zhang Xuan had just achieved a breakthrough and unintentionally injured him due to the lack of control in his strength. He also knew that it would be difficult to explain. Thus, Master Lu Qian walked over to the main seat, then turned to look at Uncle Cheng and said, "Ah Cheng, go and fetch a strength measuring rock pillar over." He was a master painter, not a fighter. Thus, no strength measuring rock pillars were placed in his lounge. However, as this item was related to one's cultivation, there were still a few of them in his house, so it would be fine bringing one over. Yes. Despite being unsure of what his master was up to, Uncle Cheng still nodded his head and retreated out of the room. "Master Zhang, have you really reached Fighter 5 Dan Pinnacle?" Upon seeing the room turn silent, Bai Sun couldn't resist walking up towards him with an excited expression. It might be inconvenient to speak of it in the academy, but it wasn't any secret here, so there's no need for Zhang Xuan to conceal the fact. I'm also on the same level. May I exchange some blows with you? Hearing the young man's confirmation, Bai Sun's eyes burned with enthusiasm. "Bai Sun, what are you doing? Look at where you are." Taken aback, Huang Yu quickly tried to advise him otherwise. Master Lu Qian was an elegant person, and he hated people arguing and fighting before him. Don't you think that it's a joke to be issuing a challenge in his lounge? It was just as Huang Yu said, Lu Qian didn't like others to be brandishing their spears and swords before him. However, while the strength measuring rock pillar wasn't here yet, the best way to test whether Zhang Xuan had improved was through Bai Sun. He was aware of the fact that the latter had reached Fighter 5 Dan Pinnacle. With the same level of cultivation, he should be able to see whether Zhang Xuan's strength had surged. At this point, he raised his head and said, "I don't have any objections if it is just ordinary sparring. However, don't go too far." Great. Initially, Bai Sun thought that Master Lu Qian would object to it. However, contrary to his expectation, he approved. Bai Sun almost leapt up due to overwhelming excitement. With a delighted expression, he took 2 steps towards the center of the lounge and with a cool pose, he beckoned Zhang Xuan. "Come. All right?" Zhang Xuan had just completed his cultivation of Heaven's Path golden body and he was curious to know how far his strength has progressed as well. Thus, he didn't reject the other party's challenge and walked over to the center of the lounge as well. "The strength behind my fists are great, so be careful." With hardened eyes, Bai Sun no longer had that gentlemanly look he usually had and replacing it was the aura of a powerful person unmatched by anyone. As someone on the level of Fighter 5 Dan Pinnacle, in terms of strength, he was above even Shang Bin. Voila! After gathering his might, Bai Sun stepped forward. With his strength as a sword, the shock wave of his punch as a blade, he sent a jab straight towards Zhang Xuan. To test his level of cultivation, Zhang Xuan didn't bother to look at the flaws on Bai Sun compiled in the Library of Heaven's Path and instead, he faced his fist with one of his own. "Who?" The 2 fists connected midair and Zhang Xuan frowned. Why is the strength behind his fists so lacking? Could it be that he isn't Fighter 5 Dan Pinnacle? Zhang Xuan's fist went straight through the other party's fist without slowing at all, completely overpowering him, as though a stone had met with a bubble. Thinking that the other party wasn't well prepared and had yet to exert his full strength yet, Zhang Xuan quickly reduced his strength by half. Even so, Bai Sun's face paled and he was sent flying like a rubber ball. "Su! He only came to a stop when his back crashed onto a pillar forcefully. Why aren't you using your full strength? Retracting his fist, Zhang Xuan walked forward and stretched out his hand to help the ladder up. Don't. Upon seeing this sight, Master Lu Chen's eyes narrowed. He immediately tried to stop them, but he was too late. Bai Sun, who was pulled by the young man, flew away like a kite who had its string snapped. With a whistle of the wind, he flew in the air once again. Pudgy. After flying for a dozen meters, his face crashed into the wall and fresh blood spurted out from his mouth and nose. Will you? Bai Sun almost cried on the spot. Big brother, I know that I'm not a match for you, but you don't have to be so merciless. My dashing features, my face. Why are you? Seeing Bai Sun fly away with a pull of his, Zhang Xuan scratched his head with an innocent look. What are they doing? First Master Lu Chen, and now Bai Sun. Is it really all right for the both of you to be leaping around? If the two of them were to know the thoughts that were running through his mind, they would have surely vomited blood on the spot out of depression. You are the one who is leaping around. We were thrown by you, all right. This fellow. Standing by the side, Huang Yu's eyebrows twitched and she found her head unable to cope. Bai Sun could be considered one of the outstanding ones among the younger generation. Except for a few others, he was practically unmatched. This was precisely the reason why he cultivated a competitive but reluctant to admit defeat personality. He thought that the latter would not be able to match up to him in a duel, but never did he imagine that he would be sent flying in a single punch. He lost thoroughly. This fellow looks ordinary, but how does he possess such overwhelming might? Are you all right? Unsure of what the others were thinking about, Zhang Xuan walked up to Bai Sun with an apologetic look. I'm fine. Bai Sun struggled upwards and patted the dust off his clothes. As Fighter 5 Dan, who had tempered his bones and skin, small wounds like these did not pose a problem. Great. I realized that you have not used your full strength previously. How about this, let's spar once more with you using your full strength. Zhang Xuan said with a serious expression. Again. Bai Sun's face twitched and he almost cried. If we were to continue fighting, I might die here. He immediately waved his hand and said, no need, Master is indeed stronger than me. I don't think there's a need to continue sparring. There's no need to be courteous, it is just friendly sparring, so you don't have to be so restrained. Also, don't call me Master, that sounds so distant. Zhang Xuan thought that the other party was acting cautiously due to his identity as Master Lu Chen's peer, causing his reluctance to give his all in the spar, thus resulting in his weakness as perceived by Zhang Xuan. When his cultivation had just reached Fighter 5 Dan pinnacle, he crossed blows with Yao Han, and the latter gave him a lot of pressure through his formidable strength. Yao Han's cultivation realm was higher than Bai Sun, but as there wasn't too much of a difference between the two, he thought that it would be the same as when he faced him. Yet, Bai Sun was sent flying with a single fist. Finding it unbelievable, he attributed it to him not exerting his full strength. Otherwise, with his 8 ding of strength, it was impossible for him to send a Fighter 5 Dan pinnacle who possessed 4 ding of strength flying with a single fist. Spar. Bai Sun trembled in fear. You call this sparring? With just that single fist of yours, I almost ascended to the heavens, you know that. Besides, as a fellow peer of Grandpa Lu Chen, what do I call you if not master? A thought flashed through his mind and his face twitched, seemingly on the verge of tears. Since you said that it feels distant calling you master, then why don't I call you Grandpa? Grandpa Zhang, I admit my mistake, okay. I shouldn't have been so hostile towards you, so I beg of you. Stop asking me to spar with you. The strength measuring rock pillar is here. At this moment, Uncle Chen walked over and saw such a sight unfolding before him. Upon hearing Bai Sun's shouting plea, he became petrified on the spot. What?